Anilji, for the benefit of our listeners, do tell us the importance of the sixth round of the coal mine auction.
It is a very important step in the right direction. For some decades, we had unfortunately become captives to our own ideology that everything should be in the public sector and only if at all it is allotted, it should be for very captive use. It had a certain background because coal mining had become a very dangerous operation in India and a lot of lives were being lost. And so it was imperative at that stage that the government should get into safer mining, things like that. And it is an important mineral. A lot of employment is affected and the labor should not be exploited. So to that extent, Coal India did a fantastic job and it kind of consolidated the operations. And there was Lignite Corporation also, which was handling the so-called brown coal in the south and some in western India. But there are limitations as the coal which is used largely for electricity generation in the country, the demand flared up. So we had to increase our production, increase availability. Power generation also, which was earlier largely in the public sector, also started moving to the private sector. So we had to create steps to ensure that coal is easily available. You don't have to import those quantities. It is more efficiently mined. It is available across the country. Because after all, coal mining is a commercial business. It's a very specialized activity. And if the public and private sector can both join in this critical activity, which is absolutely critical again to power generation in the country, which about 60 to 70% is still dependent on coal, though we want to gradually move towards renewables. But renewables from equipment manufactured within our country so that we create employment within the country and we don't create employment for outside countries. So this process, we must understand, will take a little time. Government is trying its best now to ensure that local employment is increased, local incentives are given, but coal will continue to play a major role at least for the next decade or two, I feel, in this country because we are largely dependent on thermal power supply. Thermal power supply can come from coal or gas. Gas is largely imported now, more than 50% is imported. So we have to ensure that we are able to maximize coal generation, mine coal by the most efficient methodology, and also dress it, so to say, clean it if possible, that is washed coal, and then send it across so that we are not sending ash across the country. We would like that coal handling operations, coal mining operations, as efficient as possible. In our race to move towards meeting our demand for coal, we had mostly gone for open cast mining. A lot of coal is lying underground at deeper depths. Now, to mine this coal, you will have to employ more expensive techniques, though environmentally it could be more benign, but it will come at a cost. And we have to be prepared to pay that cost. To think that coal prices are going to continue to come down, that may not be the case if we are going in for underground mining, even if we improve efficiency in our operations. And I think some operations have been modernized and they should continue to be modernized. So this step which the government has taken to involve in a very transparent manner the private sector on new mines if possible, and also those which people are not able to work properly, they are offering to somebody else. If somebody else can do a good job of it, as it happens in the oil exploration also. So it is a step absolutely in the right direction. We are no longer prisoners of our ideology. We are trying to do things as transparently as possible. And if there are more players in the field producing it, then the prices will also tend to be a little competitive and monopolies will not be there, hopefully, in such a large measure as there was the case.
You mentioned about the clean coal technology. Do tell us about the coal gasification process and how the production-linked incentive scheme is going to be launched by the government to ensure coal gasification and get the most thermal units by burning coal in an efficient manner.
Coal gasification point is that we are basically looking at, when we are talking of gasification of coal, we are looking at, number one, more efficient combustion of coal. Secondly, you see, we are looking at if we can produce the right gases out of it so that coal is not only for combusting as such. It can produce other gases which are useful, which can be utilized in the industry, not only as heat but as chemical processes. And in due course of time, we are able to produce some chemicals out of it, which are more commercially attractive than merely combusting coal. Because while today we are largely dependent in our electricity generation on thermal coal, but as we move towards more renewables, that is solar, wind, or some maybe tidal power, some other forms of power, renewable power which will come into being, we should find appropriate uses for our coal, for which we have large deposits. But this coal, as I mentioned earlier, this coal which is lying underground at deeper depths will come out at a higher price. Now, if this coal is to be commercialized, put to its right commercial use, we have to get into production of useful gases, production of useful chemicals out of it, so that those commodities which we may be importing at the moment, or which we will in our industrial in the times to come, we are able to get those commodities and get a better value for our coal. And I only hope that these companies which will gradually will have to go into underground mining, because the coal may be available at much lower depths than you can with access through open cast mining, we would be able to get the right price for it and make the operations economical. Because if we go for this underground mining or for deep mining, the costs that are involved there may not be remunerative for merely burning that coal for production of electricity, or in some cases, say, as coking. Though we don't have much coking coal at the moment, we're importing most of it. So we've got to diversify coal use. If we have to diversify coal use, we've got to involve a lot of private players so that we bring competition, not only the public sector, and we're able to value addition industries in the times to come.
Well, that was very informative, Mr. Razdan. Thank you, sir.